Overpronation and underpronation in running refers to abnormal motions of the back of the foot or a complete lack of rear foot motions, respectively, during the stance phase of running. Now, it's believed that overpronation and underpronation is a handy measure to calculate the potential injury risk in a runner on the basis of that overpronation and underpronation of the back of the foot may unleash a cascade of mechanical problems up the leg that may bear injurious implications and may contribute to performance shortcomings. Ultimately, research paints overpronation and underpronation as a distinct disadvantage for a runner that may turn running from being safe to unsafe on the general consensus that if the foot moves around too much or fails to move at all during the stance phase of running, may unleash excessive torque, mechanical demands, and impact forces on the soft tissues, on the muscles and the bones in the leg and foot. Now, it's important to note right away that some levels of pronation may have a serious purpose in deflecting impact away from the body. However, the right degree of pronation really hasn't been precisely quantified. So at this point, researchers and experts have been unable to accurately assess or pinpoint the optimal range of pronation that ensures optimal running efficiency and enhanced impact protection and absorption. Right now, researchers continue to suspect that overpronation and underpronation during running may consistently lead to the infusion of mechanically forceful overloads that may accelerate the corrosion of tissues, muscles, and bones, which is why overpronation as well as underpronation are both essentially viewed as a precursor to a running injury. Just as important, new evidence suggests that pronation patterns of the foot may differ dramatically between heel strike running and forefoot strike running, whereby a new thread of studies hints that forefoot running may actually be a better, more preventative measure that may restrain excessive pronation. For instance, one of the mechanically unique aspects of forefoot running is that ground contact time, which means the amount of time that the foot spends interacting or lingering on the ground, is reduced in forefoot running because cadence or step rate or step frequency, same thing, is naturally increased in forefoot running. Therefore, lighter footsteps really tend to take place in forefoot running, whereby there's a strong association of reduced ground contact time with less impact projected on the body, which in turn may greatly scale up a runner's capacity to avoid injury because there's less time for impact to accumulate and be pushed through the foot and up the leg when foot-ground interactions are short in duration, brief and light, like they are so often in forefoot running. Landing on the forefoot during running in conjunction with the foot spending less time interacting on the ground may certainly change the pronation patterns of the foot for the positive and may systematically repress harmful pronation patterns as compared to heel strike running. Therefore, it's important to take note that in forefoot running, the foot may be mechanically operating from a very different pronation pattern that may make it easier to achieve lasting progress in a runner's capacity to avoid many common running-related injuries, such as shin splints. Now, in contrast, one of the potential drawbacks of heel strike running is that the foot may spend a little more time interacting on the ground, which may certainly provide a window of opportunity for more unwanted wonky movements of the back of the foot or the heel to occur, which may thread more impact, more forceful impulse waves, and more torque through the muscles and soft tissue compartments within the foot, the leg, and the cartilage of the knee joint. In getting back to forefoot running, a recent study adds to the evolving understanding of how exactly and precisely the foot pronates in a forefoot strike landing pattern, whereby prior to touchdown in forefoot running, the front part of the foot begins to invert, or forefoot inversion, which means that the front part of the foot, the forefoot, begins to orient towards landing on the ground on the outside side of the forefoot just before the heel contacts the ground. Now remember, the general landing pattern of the foot in forefoot running is forefoot to heel. Now, what's so interesting about the specific landing configuration is that the front part of the foot inverts prior to touchdown in forefoot running. The researchers highlighted that this landing configuration may favor greater control over the entire foot until the heel is fully lowered down to the ground, and may serve as a protective strategy to help minimize harmful impacts on the heel, basically helping ease the foot down to the ground more gently. At touchdown, initial contact is made just under the fifth toe towards the outside of the forefoot, which is forefoot inversion, meaning the forefoot tilts outward towards the edge of the forefoot at touchdown. After this, the entire foot quickly flattens or fully, completely flattens down to the ground. This movement pattern is referred to as forefoot eversion, meaning that the forefoot now tilts inward towards the big toe, enabling the foot to slide into a smoother position on the ground. This landing strategy of the forefoot strike landing pattern during running results in less jolt and less brake force generated than a heel strike landing pattern of the foot. The researchers believe that the rapid forefoot eversion, which again is when the forefoot tilts inward, that takes place shortly after touchdown, may facilitate and enhance the lowering of the arch, allowing the foot to become more mobile and may help absorb impact more effectively. It may also help the leg extract more energy from the arch, and there are plenty of studies that mirror findings which have found that the foot's arch tends to soak up and load up with greater elastic energy in forefoot running as compared with heel strike running. Now, after the entire foot has completely flattened down on the ground and the heel comes in complete contact with the ground, the foot is quickly removed after the torso moves more anterior or more forward relative to the forefoot. Essentially, the heel in forefoot running kisses the ground, meaning the heel comes into very brief contact with the ground in forefoot running, so the heel barely spends enough time on the ground for much impact stress to fully accumulate beyond a tolerable harmful limit. Since overpronation is easily minimized in forefoot running, overpronation is also tightly restricted thanks to the high degree of the rapid forefoot eversion after touchdown, which again means that the forefoot shifts inward, offering up more surface area of the forefoot, which may add another layer of pronation control in forefoot running, helping prevent and rein in abnormal movements of the heel, thereby potentially tightly limiting physical stressors from piling up within the foot and the leg like they may in heel strike running. The forefoot inversion that occurs at touchdown in forefoot running, followed by the rapid forefoot eversion, may provide a strong base for accelerated rear foot or heel movement control as well as enhanced ankle stability. It's important to underscore that these two motions of the forefoot in forefoot running during the touchdown phase as well as during the stance phase of forefoot running occurs very rapidly and very briefly, and it's this brief interaction which may effectively create a buffer that puts the brakes on overpronation. Now, how exactly does the specific forefoot pronatory control motions in forefoot running compare to that of heel strike running? It turns out that the pronatory patterns of the foot in heel strike running may occur in longer duration because, again, just to reiterate, in heel strike running, the foot tends to spend a little more time lingering around on the ground than it does in forefoot running. By extension, prolonged ground contact time of the foot with the ground in heel strike running may certainly increase the incidence of overpronation to occur. Another reason heel strike running may have greater volumes of overpronation as compared to forefoot running is that during heel strike running, the heel may spend a little longer time in an everted position, which means that the heel points away from the midline, the heel points outward more, causing the Achilles tendon and the ankle to bow inward toward the midline, or puts a kink in the Achilles tendon and the ankle joint, whereby some studies have found that an extended duration of the heel being stuck in an everted position, or the heel pointing away from the midline during running, like the heel is in heel strike running, may be a source of mechanical stress, which may influence the flow of repeated stress beyond limits for normal healthy tissue loading, potentially leading to an overuse repetitive stress injury. Another undesirable foot motion pattern during heel strike running that may lead to injury was revealed in a 1998 study in the journal Clinical Biomechanics. The researchers found that the intensity and pattern of the foot pressure that traveled over the foot in heel strike running, primarily during the rollover phase in heel strike running, and it's this motion, i.e. the foot rollover, influence excessive toe out, which means the toes pointed away from the midline. And this was found to impose greater strain and tensile loads on the arch, whereby when the arch is bogged down with this type of plantar pressure, the arch collapses too rapidly as the body weight transfers from heel to the toes during the heel to toe rollover phase in heel strike running. In summary, essentially there are three potentially flawed mechanical elements acting on the foot in heel strike running that may reinforce abnormal pronation patterns, which may have very high injurious implications. Number one, exaggerated prolonged foot ground contact time, which may encourage or facilitate abnormal heel or rear foot motions to build up. Number two, the heel may be locked into a hyper-everted position, meaning that the heel points outward away from the midline during the stance phase. This may foster landing instabilities. And thirdly, there may be excessive toe out. The toes dramatically point away from the midline. This excessive toe out pattern, due to the immense plantar pressure on the foot during the heel to toe rollover motion in heel strike running, collectively, this is actually very convincing evidence that can be used to justify the mechanical components of a heel strike running style as potentially being legitimate risk factors for fueling overpronation, which overpronation is heavily considered a very definitive marker for causing many common running related injuries. This is one of the many reasons heel strike running may be a somewhat of a cumbersome style of running that doesn't always reliably work when it comes to avoiding many injuries. This is why a lot of focus is honing in on forefoot running, as forefoot running appears to have a variety of mechanical elements that may offer a counterbalance for overpronation. Landing with a forefoot strike landing pattern during running may do a better job mechanically at effectively helping to cut off abnormal foot motions, which can be helpful in your effort to move forward in preventing injury. In addition to forefoot running, running forefoot barefoot may help give you an even more renewed capacity to develop the natural constraints within the foot that may help control excessive pronation or overpronation. The vast majority of runners have been led to know that motion control stability traditional type running shoes are the gold standard for correcting overpronation. But the reality is these shoes actually plant the seeds for overpronation by stripping away foot strength, as the muscles, connective tissues, and soft tissues within the feet are completely, typically unengaged or disengaged in motion control stability running shoes, leading to inadequate foot strength, which is an overhanging problem, as based on earlier findings, foot weakness is a very common denominator of overpronation, simply because the foot is too weak to control its own pronatory events. The best delivery system for enhanced, sustained engagement of the foot is via barefooting or wearing running shoes that have virtually no support. With barefooting or wearing barefoot-like running shoes, there's more ongoing engagement pulsing through the foot, which has been proven to be the best mechanical interface for restoring and maintaining proper foot health and function. Humans evolved as a barefoot species, so there's really no reason to have weak feet. It's important that runners really learn to break out of the paradigm that motion control stability running shoes are the solution to overpronation, when in reality Being stuck in this type of conventional wisdom will only lead to escalatory foot weakness. So, the take home message from this is forefoot running, especially when you're barefoot or wearing minimalist like running shoes, may help you develop the capacity to naturally constrain excessive pronation, and heel strike running in conjunction with running in motion control stability running shoes may be self-defeating. So these are just a few of the important distinctions between forefoot running and heel strike running that researchers really have outlined that I thought would be very important to share, and hopefully you can stand to gain from this information. I posted down below exactly what a forefoot strike landing pattern looks like to give you a better idea of how your foot should move in a forefoot strike landing pattern. For more updates regarding the research on the health and performance benefits of forefoot running versus the potentially health harming effects of heel strike running, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Have fun out there on the roads and trails. Bye for now.